Good evening. We have much to unpack. Since that was a bumper-length episode of Doctor Who, we could be in for a bumper-length video. So turn off now, if that's an issue. Core. So the first thing I want to say is, old school Daleks, I think, for all their clunkiness, are just better than new Daleks. So that's controversial. But new series Daleks can't hold a candle to them. I mean, genuinely, blah, 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 blah. When those Daleks appeared through the airlock type thing, no matter how clunky and rubbish they are, there is a genuine frisson. And I don't think you get that with new Daleks. I really, really don't. I just think there's something about that sort of clunky simplicity, that sort of tank-like groove. I think that you can't beat it. Although, to a certain extent, I didn't really get a sense of Daleks at the best when they're just en masse, all right? When there's just loads and loads of Daleks. And what we've got here is Dalek Emperor. Is it Dalek Emperor or Dalek Supreme or whatever? Being basically the mouthpiece for the Daleks. But that's fine, that's a moot point. We'll go with that. This is very reminiscent of something like, as soon as it started, and I've seen this 2 or 3 times maybe now, of Dalek Invasion of Earth. And that is no bad thing, because Dalek Invasion of Earth was good. I can't remember what I said about it back in the past, but I have fond memories. That sense of the Robo-Men coming out. And I like that. I think that's a good setting for Daleks. I think that sort of deserted waterfront thing, there's just something that works for me. Perhaps it's just good for a Doctor Who setting. I'm not a massive fan of the soured philosophy. I think that's fair to say. If we look at other script editors across the history of Doctor Who, soured's not going to be in my top meh. And the general bleakness and griminess of this episode isn't joy. Well, it's obviously not joyous. It doesn't fit terribly comfortably with me. But this is a marquee story, isn't it? It's got Daleks in the title. You kind of feel we've been running up to this. This feels like a accumulation of things, even though, in all honesty, we've actually got 2 or 3 stories in a row which are accumulations of things, building up and whatever else like that. So maybe that's overthinking it, but I do think that this merits the bleakness. And there's a lot of death here. There was a lot of death in that episode. The body count is high here.
Like yours, darling.
I've got a lot of body here. So, but I'm okay with that. I mean, Daleks facilitate that, the old Sandifer philosophy of how the Daleks break down the narrative structure of Doctor Who and all that. I really like that notion. They are too big to be contained, and as a result, we do get things like this happening. I even get a weird sort of. I feel robbed. This should be Unit, clearly. Why isn't this Unit? I tell you why it's not Unit, because it's too bloody horrible to be Unit. If the Brigadier was here, it would just be too horrible to have him in it. Do you get what I'm saying there? Unit's comforting. This isn't comfortable in any way, shape or form. I like our use of companions here. I mean, Tegan getting knocked out is just part of the course for a companion, but Turlough having to basically one-hander it around this space station. I quite enjoy that. I'm down with Turlough now. I mean, it's not exactly the bravest example of companionship, but on the flip side, fair play to him doing his thing. Lots of smoke in here. What's that about? Like, lots of smoking. That is weird. We'll come back to something else that's weird seeing somebody's hands in a minute. And I quite like the diversity on show in the spaceship. I do think some of the dialogue's pretty clunky, but I'll forgive that because this is high octane showpiecey stuff. It's not that boring.
I'm going to bed.
All right, see you in a minute. 2 things to say. I like Lytton. I'm not even sure he's had a name yet, but I like him. I think he's a good character.
Is he the one that I said?
Yes, he's clearly a character that, maybe could come back one day. How interesting to think about if that was the case.
Who did he come back as?
Maybe as Lytton. I don't know.
Have you seen him come back?
I don't know. Have you seen Attack of the Cybermen? Oh, there we go. Maybe we'll find out. Anyway, that's by the by. Interesting character. I think there's a lot. Now, let me quickly talk about the Doctor. Because we are getting to a point now where we're going to have to think quite deeply about the Fifth Doctor. And I have a number of theories about the Fifth Doctor, thank you, darling, that we're going to have to discuss at some point. But oh my crikey, seeing the Doctor with a gun in hand. Now, admittedly, Davison's working with this. He's doing his very, very best to try and communicate how uncomfortable the Doctor feels. It feels like an awkward object for the Doctor to have in his hand. But the Daleks are here, and all of a sudden, this Fifth Doctor, who it would seem will try his best to avoid if he can, or at least at his best, or at least when the scripts are at their best, will try and avoid conflict, try and avoid too much aggression, is reduced to a situation whereby he has to hold a gun in his hand. Now, I think that's really telling about this Doctor. I've got my thoughts about what we're going to say at the end of all this, my ode to Davison, as we've done with the last couple of Doctors. But I have to say, am I formulating an idea? Is this a failed regeneration? I mean, the traditional look at it, especially if you read the New Adventures, was the next Doctor's the failed regeneration. I'm not entirely sure this Doctor can cope. Is that horrible? Gosh, I feel really bad about that. I mean, it's interesting, let's be honest. I think Davison's, this is no knock on Davison, quite the opposite. None of the previous Doctors, with the exception of Troughton, of course, could have dealt with this. But I've just got this sense that there's something we could tease out of this Doctor that I find really interesting here. Anyway, a lot going on. Bumper-length episode of Doctor Who. Not entirely sure it works too well for me, actually. I don't think this is a perfect 45-minute example of what Doctor Who should be. But that's okay, because you've got to experiment, you've got to try new things. That was solid. Exhausting. That was exhausting. But, yeah, okay. We get into big places here. This is interesting stuff. Farewell.